The courtroom fell silent as Dr. Amara Lewis, 34, elegant black linguistics professor, stood in handcuffs before a panel of white men who looked at her like a circus act. Did I hear that right? Judge Mason chuckled. You claim to speak 12 languages? The gallery laughed. Even the stenographer hid a smirk. Cameras flashed like lightning. Amara didn't flinch. Her calm brown eyes stayed fixed on a man who mocked her. Yes, Your Honor, she said softly, voice steady as steel. The prosecutor, Ethan Cole, tapped his pen and smirked. 12 languages, and yet you forged your Harvard degree. Quite the contradiction, Professor Lewis. The word forged echoed like a slap. Amara's heart raced, but her face never moved. I earned every skill I have. I never faked a thing. Judge Mason leaned forward. You expect us to believe that a woman from East Detroit, raised in public housing, somehow mastered 12 world languages without a single Ivy League diploma? The courtroom burst into low laughter again. Behind her, a reporter whispered, another fraud crying racism. Amara's cuffs clinked as she adjusted her posture, taller, prouder. For people like me, she said, voice low but sharp enough to cut glass, you don't need proof to call us liars. You just need color. That single line turned the laughter into stunned silence. Even the judge's smile froze. Cameras zoomed in, capturing her calm defiance. The same world that came to watch her humiliation was about to witness something else. Something unforgettable. If this already made your blood boil, hit like and subscribe right now, because stories like this are still happening and the world needs to hear them. Long before the courtroom laughter, Amara Lewis was the quiet girl who translated the world through sound. In the crumbling apartment blocks of East Detroit, while other kids fought or gave up, she memorized radio stations in Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic just to feel connected to something bigger. Her mother, Denise, worked double shifts as a hospital janitor. On weekends, Amara would sit beside her, reading old donated dictionaries from a thrift store. She once told her mother, "If I can speak to everyone, maybe they'll finally listen to me." Her mother smiled. Then speak louder than their hate, baby. Years later, Amara earned scholarships, small ones at first, then global research grants. She mastered language after language, not from luxury schools, but from human contact. A refugee taught her Farsi. A cab driver helped her with Swahili. An online friend in Beijing corrected her Mandarin accent nightly. By 28, she could switch between dialects like breathing. By 30, she was invited to lecture at Crescent University, an elite white institution that praised her talent in public but whispered doubts behind closed doors. Her brilliance drew applause, but her skin drew suspicion. When white professors joked that she must have a translator app in her head, she laughed along. But when her research papers were delayed for extra verification, the message was clear: excellence wasn't enough. Then came the opportunity that changed everything. She exposed an international research error that embarrassed a donor-backed tech firm. That same week, her office was searched, and anonymous complaints appeared online accusing her of falsifying her credentials. At first, she ignored them. But when the FBI showed up at her apartment door one cold morning, the world stopped spinning. Neighbors peeked through curtains as she was handcuffed in her robe. Her mother begged the officers to show proof, but they didn't need any. Only a rumor backed by powerful names. The next day, the headline read, "Black professor arrested for academic fraud, claims she speaks 12 languages." Comment sections exploded with laughter and hate. Yet behind every insult, Amara felt something stronger: resolve. She whispered to herself, "They want a spectacle. I'll give them a revelation." The courthouse reeked of perfume, sweat, and judgment. Amara sat beside her public defender, Malik Turner, a young black attorney barely in his 30s, sharp-minded but visibly tense. He whispered, "Don't react, no matter what they say. They're waiting for you to break." She nodded once, eyes cold, focused straight ahead. Across the aisle, Prosecutor Ethan Cole rearranged a stack of files with theatrical arrogance. "Your Honor," he began, voice dripping with false politeness, "the defendant claims mastery of 12 languages. However, Her record shows she never completed a single verified university degree. Her research grants? Fake. Her credentials? Fabricated. The gallery buzzed. Whispers, chuckles, camera clicks. Judge Mason tilted his head. Dr. Lewis, or should I say Miss Lewis, care to explain how someone from your background ends up teaching at one of the nation's top universities without proper qualifications? His tone was sugar-coated contempt. Amara straightened her spine. By working harder than the people who doubt me. The judge smirked. I admire confidence, but arrogance without proof is dangerous. Laughter again, like hyenas feeding off humiliation. Malik rose. Objection, Your Honor. That statement is prejudicial, sustained. The judge interrupted lazily. But I'll allow the point. Amara, clench your fists under the table. Every second in that room felt like reliving centuries of disbelief. Every student who mocked her accent, every administrator who said, "We'll call you back," when they saw her name. Ethan paced the floor like a showman. Your Honor, I have here letters from 3 institutions, the International Language Bureau, Linguitech, and the World Linguist Alliance. All claim she delivered inaccurate translations, costing them millions. He paused for dramatic effect. But what's worse, he added, turning toward her, is the arrogance of pretending to be something she's not. It's fraud wrapped in fantasy. Amara's jaw tightened. Those same companies rejected my work only after learning I was from Detroit and not Yale. Gasps rippled through the room. The judge tapped his pen. Watch your tone, Professor. She stared right back. You can strip my title, but you can't silence truth. The silence was sharp, almost holy. Malik glanced at her, seeing the same fire that had driven civil rights fighters before them. But deep down, he knew this case wasn't just about her degree. It was about the idea of a black woman being smarter than the system that judged her. Outside the courtroom, news vans waited. Reporters shouted, "Do you still claim to speak 12 languages?" Amara looked into the lens, her face calm, almost serene. "I don't need to claim it," she said. "I'll prove it when they're ready to listen. If this happened right in front of you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if you want justice as much as I do, hit subscribe." 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed again. This time, standing room only. Civil rights journalists filled the benches. Students from Crescent University held signs that read, "Let her speak." Even the judge looked uneasy. The laughter from the first hearing had vanished. Prosecutor Ethan Cole smirked confidently as he set his files on the desk. "Your Honor, today we present irrefutable proof." The courtroom doors swung open. A tall black man in a tailored gray suit entered with quiet authority. "I'm sorry for the interruption," he said, holding a badge. "Special Advisor Darius Grant, former CIA linguist. I have evidence relevant to this case." The judge frowned. "Mr. Grant, this court session, with all due respect, Your Honor," Darius interrupted calmly. "You'll want to see this." He handed a sealed folder to Malik Turner. Inside were documents bearing federal seals. These files confirm that Dr. Amara Lewis worked as a contracted translator for multiple intelligence missions, including operations in Morocco, Germany, and South Korea. Her work was verified by native language specialists and reviewed by the Department of State. The courtroom buzzed like a hive. Ethan's smile faded. "This is absurd. These could be fabricated." "Then let's verify them publicly." Malik shot back. Darius turned toward the cameras. "I'm also authorized to release an audio recording." The head of Linguitech admitting their reason for discrediting DR. Lewis was optics. They said she didn't fit the image of a scholar who represents their brand. A collective gasp swept the room. Judge Mason adjusted his robe, voice suddenly less confident. "Do you have that recording?" Darius nodded, pressing play on his phone. A male voice echoed through the speakers. "We can't let her be the face of this program. She's talented, sure, but she doesn't look like the kind of professor our sponsors expect." The silence that followed was nuclear. Ethan tried to recover. "Your Honor, that doesn't prove..." Malik rose again, eyes blazing. "It proves exactly what this court has tried to ignore. that this isn't about fraud. It's about who's allowed to be brilliant. Amara watched quietly, tears in her eyes but head high. For the first time, the gallery wasn't laughing. They were leaning forward, hungry for truth. She whispered to herself, "Now they'll see me, not my color." Judge Mason sighed, defeated. "We'll allow the defense to continue. But be advised, this line of argument opens new grounds, potentially federal." Malik smiled faintly. "That's exactly where we're going." The next morning, the trial became national news. Major networks streamed the hearing live, hashtags like "and trended across the United States." Inside the courtroom, the air was heavy, a mix of fear and reckoning. Judge Mason entered quietly, no jokes this time. Even he knew the world was watching. Ethan Cole looked pale but determined, gripping his pen like a weapon. Malik Turner stood tall beside Amara, a folder of new evidence in hand. "Your Honor," Malik began, "the defense will demonstrate that Dr. Lewis's alleged incompetence was manufactured, not by her, but by corporations threatened by her success." He clicked a remote. The first slide projected on the wall: rejection rates by race in academic linguistics. White applicants, 11. Black applicants, 76. Gasps filled the room. Malik continued. These numbers were collected from internal emails and government records. Dr. Lewis isn't the first. She's just the first who refused to disappear quietly. Judge Mason shifted uneasily. "Mr. Turner, you're implying conspiracy. I'm proving a pattern," Malik replied firmly. "Linguitech, Global Translations, and LexiCorps, 3 companies that accused my client, all received donations from Crescent University's Board of Trustees, the same university that revoked her tenure." Ethan snapped, "Conspiracy theories aren't evidence." Darius Grant rose from the audience. "Then maybe you'll recognize this." He handed over a USB drive. "This contains internal recordings, emails from your star witness, Mr. Cole." The prosecutor froze. "That's illegal." "Not when they were voluntarily shared by your former assistant." Darius replied smoothly. Malik plugged in the USB. On the speakers, Ethan's own voice played. "We'll make her fold, discredit her in court, leak the degree rumor, and the rest will handle itself." The crowd erupted. Reporters typed furiously. Amara's mother, seated in the back, covered her mouth, tears streaming down. Judge Mason slammed his gavel. "Order! Order!" But no one could unhear it. Malik turned toward the cameras. "What you just heard isn't just corruption. It's the face of institutional racism hiding behind paperwork." Amara stood slowly, her hands trembling, not from fear but relief. She looked directly at the judge. "All my life, I had earned permission to be seen as intelligent. Not today." The gallery rose to its feet in applause, despite the judge's banging gavel. The system that tried to bury her was now choking on its own lies. The courtroom was electric. Every camera lens aimed at Amara. Even the judge looked small now, dwarfed by the truth that filled the air. Malik stepped aside and whispered, "It's time." Amara walked to the center of the room, her voice calm, her heart steady. "For weeks, you've all questioned whether I truly speak 12 languages," she began. "Today, I'll show you why facts don't need a diploma." She took a breath and began softly in Arabic, reciting a verse about truth and dignity, then switched to Mandarin, flawlessly greeting the Chinese delegation watching the trial online. Without pause, she flowed into French, translated her own words with perfect tone, then into Russian, Swahili, and Japanese. Each shift was seamless, no hesitation, no accent. The crowd was silent. Even Judge Mason, who had once mocked her, leaned forward, mouth half open. She ended in German, voice clear and powerful. "Justice has no language, but prejudice always speaks the same." Reporters stood up unconsciously, clapping before the gavel struck. Ethan Cole sank back into his chair, face pale, reputation shattered. Malik turned toward the judge. "Your Honor, I believe the prosecution's doubts have just been translated." A ripple of laughter broke the tension. Judge Mason cleared his throat. "Dr. Lewis, your fluency is real," she interrupted gently. "And it always was." The judge's face softened. All charges are dismissed. This court extends an apology for the treatment you've endured. Applause thundered through the hall. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashing. Amara turned, facing the lens of the nearest camera. To every student told her too poor, too black, or too different to be brilliant, this is your proof. Never let their disbelief define your limits. Outside the courthouse, protesters cheered as she walked free. Darius met her at the steps. "You didn't just win a case," he said. "You exposed a disease." Amara smiled faintly. Then maybe truth is a cure. Above them, a helicopter hovered, capturing the shot that would go viral across America. The black professor they mocked now standing in sunlight, her face calm, her chains gone. 6 months later, sunlight poured through tall glass windows of a new office in New York City. The golden plate on the door read, "The Amara Lewis Foundation for Unconventional Talent." Inside, Amara stood beside her mother, watching a group of young translators from low-income backgrounds present their first multilingual project. Laughter and pride filled the room, the sound of voices that were finally being heard. Malik entered, soup crisp, grin relaxed for the first time in months. "You did it, Professor." Amara smiled. "We did. You believed in me when everyone else called me a fraud." He shrugged. Belief was the easy part. Watching the system eat itself? That was poetic. News headlines flashed on a muted TV screen. Linguatech executives resign amid discrimination scandal. Judge Mason retires under ethics investigation. Amara Lewis appointed UN Cultural Liaison. She turned the TV off and looked out at the city skyline. Her reflection stared back, no longer the frightened woman in handcuffs, but survivor who turned humiliation into history. Her phone buzzed. A message from Darius read, "They mocked your accent. Now the world listens in 12 languages." She smiled softly, then whispered, "The best revenge isn't anger, it's clarity." Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "You spoke for all of us, baby. Now they can't unhear it." Amara nodded, eyes bright with quiet triumph. The same voice that once trembled in a courtroom now carried the weight of millions who believed again. If you believe this should never happen again, share this now. And to my USA, UK, and Canadian viewers, your voice is power. Use it.